Good evening to each and every one of you all. Thank you for being here tonight at this special city commissioner meeting at City Hall Chambers, Tuesday, November the 19th of 2023, 6 p.m. Thank those that's on live feed as well, but thank you for joining us tonight at this particular special meeting. Ms. Bryant, thank you from Senator Office. We really do appreciate that. Madam Attorney Abner, thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for traveling the dangerous highway as well. Staff, thank you as well. Sarge, thank you for being here for the Palm Beach County Sheriff Department, and our guest from the Florida Department of Transportation, thank you for being here, and also our residents in the city of South Bay. Commissioner, thank you all for being here as well. We do appreciate it. At this present time, Madam Clerk, you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Polk.
Here.
Commissioner Berry.
Present.
Vice Mayor McKelvin.
Present.
Mayor Cos.
President, thank you, Madam Clerk, and thank you, Commissioner. Tonight, this special meeting will be about our budget in reference to, this is the only thing we'll be talking about tonight in reference to the budget, amended budget, and also our legislation priority, and also our representative from FDOT. This is the only conversation we'll be having tonight. No other conversation will be rendered on this, among these particular commission tonight, and all this deals tonight. At this present time, Madam Clerk, read for the record, please, the resolution 48-2024.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of South Bay, Florida, relating to finance providing for amendments to the fiscal year budget beginning October 1, 2023 and ending September 30th, 2024, approving associated budget amendments, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I really do appreciate that. In reference to this resolution where you said 3A Commissioner Budget Resolution, 3A Budget Expenditure, and 3A Budget Amended CP. At this present time, City Manager Campbell.
The Mayor Commission, on September 19, 2023, the City Commission adopted Resolution 43, 2023, setting forth the appropriations for general fund budget estimated for the fiscal year 2023-2024 in the amount of $3,050,302. The capital project fund estimated total sum of $4,505,000. It is necessary to amend the fiscal year 2023-2024 general fund budget to recognize an increase in general fund budget by $671,475, which would represent additional revenues and fund balance as outlined on Budget Amendment Number 1, page 2, and an increase in capital project fund budget by $90,973 as outlined on Budget Amendment Number 2. In amending the budget, it is further necessary to recognize additional expenses as follows: an increase of $11,425 in the Legislative Department, an increase of $43,900 in the City Manager Department, an increase in $15,100 in the City Clerk, an increase of $19,000 in Finance Department, an increase of $198,350 in the General Government Department, an increase of $363,050 in the Community Development Department, an increase of $14,750 in the Parks and Recreation Department, and an increase of $5,900 in the Public Works Department. It is also necessary to amend the fiscal year 2023-2024 capital project fund budget by $90,973 as outlined in Budget Amendment Number 2. The City of South Bay, Florida hereby amends fiscal year budget beginning October 1, 2023 and ending September 30th, 2024 as set forth herein to recognize a supplemental appropriation to the general fund budget in the amount of $671,475 to the general fund budget, bringing the total amount to $3,721,777 and $90,973 to the capital project fund, bringing the total amount to $4,595,973. The appropriations are described in amendments to the budget worksheets attached hereto as Exhibit A. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you, City Manager Campbell. At this present time, may I have a motion and a second to move Resolution 48-2024 to the floor for discussion and approval? Moved by Commissioner Polk,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor McKelvin. Any question or any discussion among these commissioners per Resolution 48-2024? Commissioner Pope.
None, sir. I met with the city manager.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Berry.
Regarding the capital project fund, I note that to set up a budget amendment for the roof at City Hall, and that's 15,960. And Cap Gov, provided by Cap Gov. Is that correct? I mean, Cap Engineering.
The roof,
Set up a budget amendment for roof maintenance at City Hall. I'm under capital project. This is just for clarity.
yes. It's just Cap Engineering, that's a separate professional services was Cap Engineering. The roof, we actually had a contractor to come in, that's a separate item. So you had the roof repair and additional engineering services.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Berry. Thank you, City Manager Campbell. Vice Mayor McKelvin.
No questions at this time, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that. At this present time, have the questions been answered tonight before the city commission, before the city manager? Madam Clerk, you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Polk,
Yes.
Commissioner Berry,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McKelvin,
Yes.
Mayor Collins.
Yes, thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, City Manager Kevin. Thank you, Commissioner. It passes by full commission. We'll continue tonight with B and 2025 state legislation priority. I know we have discussed this here, and City Manager Campbell has spoke to each one of the commissioners to make sure that they have their priorities available in references to upcoming legislation priority in 2025. I don't know how many of the commission have had the opportunity to meet with the city manager, express their priority, preference for the upcoming year. City manager, have you have any requests from the commissioners in reference to their priorities, sir?
Yes, sir. Okay, I apologize, Mr. Mayor. I was juggling at the moment. I've had an opportunity to talk with several of the commissioners regarding some of their ideas and recommendations regarding special projects and not special legislative appropriations requests and or letters regarding policy statements as well from the commissioners, individual commissioners. So tonight there is more information, and I do appreciate Commissioner Berry taking the lead on this and having FDOT come out, because what each of the commissioners did echo their sentiments on is infrastructure. Sent here in the city of South Bay, which over the past 10 years, I can say we have built some roads and some sidewalks, and we are making some accomplishments. However, there are some additional things that we are looking to do from a vertical perspective going forward with the flavor of the governor at this time. There are also some horizontal needs being the roads, the vertical need being the our facilities here in the city. So all of those things did come out. So that's the long answer to the yes, Mr. Mayor, that you asked me if I spoke with the commission. Yes, I did have conversations with some of the commissioners regarding their legislative priorities. So tonight, as I hear from you all in this open session, tonight we will be able to draft a full legislative priority. Staff is prepared to draft a full legislative agenda that we will be able to stand behind in Tallahassee this coming year. So at that, Mayor, I know we're going to have the presentation, but I also need to hear from this commission.
Yes, sir.
The commission as a body to prepare our legislative priorities for the 25 legislative session.
Thank you, City Manager Campbell. I do appreciate that, and thank these commissioners for meeting with you in reference to their priority. Tonight, we would love to hear from each one of the commissioners in reference to their legislation priority. And Commissioner King, if you're not ready, we'll come back to you, but start off with Commissioner Poe.
Well, if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
if we can do the presentation
And
and then hear from the commission,
That's-
if you don't,
no,
if that's
that's the
okay
will of
with
the
the commission.
commissioners. We good with that?
fine.
Okay. All right,
Okay.
thank you all. We do appreciate that. Thank you, City Manager Cameron. At this present time, we have a presentation by Florida Department of Transportation. I hope I have this name, Cecil J. Martinez, District Planning Environmentalist Administrator.
He's not here.
Okay, well, we have two individuals that are here tonight from the Florida Department of Transportation. Thank you all.
Just sending you
Give us your name and your department that you're from, sir.
Sorry, good evening, thank you. My name is Ron Kariba. I'm with the Florida Department of Transportation. I'm in the Planning Environmental Management Office as well. I work for Cesar Martinez. I'm joined with Jesus Sosa. She's also part of the same office. And we're here to present on a few things.
Yes, sir.
There's been some ongoing items of discussion. So there's a few different topics in this presentation. I can go forward if you guys are ready.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We do appreciate you being
Okay,
here.
great, thank you. Is it clicker? Thank you. I know I already introduced us, Ron Kariba and Jesus Sosa. We had three items we wanted to discuss today that have come up. US 27 connector, which we've had a few meetings about in the past with several other stakeholders in the area. Also, the State Road 80 at US 27 intersection. There's been some concerns brought up by the commission to the department as well for that location, as well as US 27 at Northwest 2nd Street in regards to pedestrian crossing. So we're going to touch on all three of those here. Some of this may be redundant if you've seen some of the previous connector study presentations, but the stuff on State Road 80 will be new, and as well as the pedestrian crossing. So just a quick background on the connector study again. The department has been looking at a connector to bypass the city of Belglade, potentially also South Bay, depending on the route, in regards to a truck bypass regarding traffic growth in the area, as well as a lot of freight movement through the area across the state. This has been around for a little while, and the need has been known for a while. There's also potential for future industrial use out in this area that could further contribute towards that. And the Palm Beach TPA, or Transportation Planning Agency, has prioritized this project per se as well for a new roadway.
Wait, while you're on that, if
Yes.
any of you commissioners have questions to ask the two representatives, please ask your questions as we go, please. Thank you.
Thank you. This is just a quick background on our process, just to give a time frame and an idea of where we're at with this particular study for the connector. We're still in the planning phase, which generally takes about 2 years. This one's taken a little bit longer. And after we finish this phase, we can move on to the PD&E phase, which is project development and environment study. Those usually take between 3 and 5 years, especially for this type of study where we have a new corridor. And then after that, design would begin. And then if we needed land, we would purchase it and so on. So realistically, this can take 15, 20 years from start to finish, just to make sure that's clear. And during the planning phase, we're trying to identify the appropriate course of action. So this particular format of the planning phase for a new corridor, they call it an alternative corridor evaluation, or an ACE, or an ACER. You may have heard different things if you haven't heard them. But essentially what we're doing is we're evaluating different corridors and putting forth recommendations to move forward for further study. We looked at existing conditions and prior studies that have been done. We've gotten stakeholder input in regards to it as well. We're developing a purpose and need to make sure that we actually have a need for the project, as well as know why we're doing it. Then we're going to look through some draft alternatives in the methodology and evaluations, and then recommendations at the end, which is basically where we're at. We're kind of at the very end of the study. This slide here to highlight the previous stakeholder engagement that we've had. There were several meetings a while back. This study's taken a little bit longer than normal in regards to developing the purpose and need, but we did get through that. But we had meetings going back into 2021 for this. And then more recently, there's a large list there you can look over, but we have presented to the Palm Beach TPA back in June of 24. We also presented at the Belglade Community Town Hall back in, I believe it was in October. And then we had another presentation recently for the Tri-City legislation. So, and then various other numerous partners we've met with as well. So the main, I guess, meat of this would be the 4 alternatives that we kind of came out with that we believe can be recommended for further study. There's 4 different alignments. 2 of them are to the west of the city of Belglade and come out on the north side. One of them uses an existing corridor, and the third one is actually to the east of the city of Belglade and comes out south and South Bay. I'm not sure if it's in your city limits, but it comes out on the south side. So from left to right on your presentation, you can see the different alignments that we've looked at. The blue one on the far left is a new corridor. Just to keep in mind, all three of the four corridors do use a portion of Hooker Highway, and it's getting enhanced as part of it. And then there's pieces of it that are new corridors as you go out west. The blue one, the farthest out west through the agricultural land, and then you have a pink one that comes down a little bit on. Oh, now I'm forgetting the name of the road, but there's is it 715, I believe. Yeah, 715. I'm sorry. Comes down on 715 for a short period, then breaks off as a new corridor, and then there's another alignment that actually utilizes 715 all the way down back to State Road 80. Yes, the light blue. Sorry, the purple is the one I was referring to before, and then the light blue is the existing corridor, which would just be an improvement to the existing corridor. And then the final corridor is all the way out east on Sugar House Road. It uses a portion of that, and then a new corridor southeast of Belglade and towards the south side of Part of what we were looking at and in this was the crashes and whatnot in the area and the truck traffic going through the area through State Road 80 intersection with US 27 as well as Belglade. And we analyzed this and did some study to determine how this would how it would affect truck traffic if we build a new corridor. So what we believe is if a new corridor is built, that we'll get anywhere from 42 to about 58% of a decrease in truck traffic on State Road 80 and US 27 in this area, using the alternate route that we would provide. Depending on the alternatives, all of them are over 40%. Some of the numbers are similar, but alternative 2 particularly has the highest amount of decrease that would actually pull more trucks out of the current State Road 80. We also looked at just vehicular traffic as well, so not just trucks, and we also noticed a similar decrease. So what that's telling us is there's a lot of pass-through traffic that's coming through the area. So we see similar decreases in vehicular volumes as well, not just trucks. And they're almost identical to the truck corridor, the truck traffic that would divert. So we did go through an evaluation. Higher scores are better here in this. We went through and rated all of the alternatives based on different factors and impacts, environmental and social impacts, as well as engineering considerations, cost considerations, and then stakeholder support. And when we summed it up, you get a total, and the higher the score, the better per se from this type of recommendation. None of this particular alternatives stood out as being not worth looking forward at further. So in this case, all 4 of them, we do recommend further study on them. So the emphasis would be during the PD&E study to look at all 4 of these alternatives and then continue to narrow it down to a final preferred alternative. 2 and 3 are a little bit better when you look at the scoring, but the other ones are close. We do all think all 4 meet the purpose and need of the project. That's another reason why we'd like to recommend them further.
So,
Yes, go ahead, sir.
You do further study on all 4 of these, or just the two highest one?
It has not changed, right? Yeah, we're recommending all 4 get further studied.
All right.
Of course, if we get input that one particular alternative is not desired or whatnot, we can consider that. But in general, we'd like to look at all of them
Okay.
from an engineering and analysis standpoint.
All right, thank you.
1 and 2 are a little bit higher, but they have more benefits. A little bit higher in costs, have a little bit more benefits. 3 and 4, 3 is the lowest, but doesn't provide quite as many benefits. That's the one using the existing roadway. And 4 doesn't have as much benefits as the other, and it is the most expensive. So it kind of seems like maybe you'd want to eliminate it, but it still meets the need, and we still think it's possible to look at a little bit farther. So in regards to that study on US 27, the next steps that we have is we were kind of coming at a close, but we've heard from you guys, the stakeholders and whatnot, that you want a little bit more public involvement. So our idea was to go out and do a survey with the residents and commuters that drive through the area. This would be a targeted mail out that would be sent out to residents. We would use a geofencing and some sort of software analysis to find out who the right people are to send it to. Of course, anyone along the corridors. And then residents in the area, and then particularly maybe some others who use the corridor. And the idea would be an online survey, but then have a paper backup. So if the person doesn't have access to online to do that or chooses, they can use the paper, which will come in the mail out.
In reference to the survey, a lot of people are not really connected to the laptop or the computer.
Yes.
They have to request for this paper survey.
We hadn't decided that yet, but I was leaning towards no. I was leaning towards including the hard copy and having the barcode or the QR code on the actual survey saying, if you want, you can do it here. It's easier to do it through this way if you have access to it. But
Yes.
if you don't, fill out the hard copy, which
Hard
I think
copy.
should be included. That was my thought. Do you guys agree on that
Yes.
in
Yes.
general? Okay. I'm estimating about 4 months to do that. We would have to reach out with a consultant team that can do that effort and help us and assist us with it. It'll take some time to procure that, and then we'll have to get the actual survey created, go through that, and then whatnot, and get it mailed out, and then wait for the reply. So that's kind of what we came up with is time frame. It could take a little less or maybe a little bit longer. Once we get that, we then feel like we could finalize the report. We can come back and do another presentation, of course, as well, before formally finalizing. But that's kind of where we would be at. And again, just to reiterate, during the PD&E study, there will be additional outreach. There will be additional stakeholder coordination and whatnot. It's not going to stop just as soon as we finish the study.
All right, thank you.
A little chart on the bottom is just the same as I was showing before in regards to where we are in the time frame. Okay. So US 27 at State Road 80, I can go forward with that one, or did you want to ask questions first about the bypass or the connector, or how would you like me to
Do anyone want to?
proceed?
The connector, once I process the complete slideshow.
Okay, so I'll keep going then. Perfect, thank you. So US 27 at State Road 80 was another concern that we've heard about. This particular image is just an aerial to get us acquainted with the area so we know where we're at. I'm sure you guys are very familiar with this intersection. The free flow right turn, as we would call it, which is on State Road 80. So if you're traveling west on State Road 80, you don't stop at the signal, you're pulled out, and then you have a merge condition. There's a truck stop in the northeast corner there. I believe you guys are also getting another one built on the northwest over there across the road tracks, or I think it's a racetrack. But there's been some concerns of some weaving issues there. We call it weaving. It's where vehicles that are going in one direction need to move over, and vehicles going in the other direction want to also move over in opposite ways. So they have to crisscross, and there's a lot of friction when that happens, and there could be accidents and whatnot. So you guys had expressed some concern on that. And so this kind of just breaks down what I was saying verbally in the weaving condition. You've got the green traffic, and then you've got the blue or teal traffic, and then there's a segment there between the truck stop where those cars and vehicles would have to weave to interact with each other at, I believe, First Street.
Let me ask you a question in reference
Yes.
to State Road 80 and 27 at their light here. I was just out this morning. I seen the amount of traffic was backed up. Do you need to synchronize that light, the red light? Because it seems like it's causing a problem there because we have a lot of traffic backed up waiting for that light to change. And I know this it seems like it's just about every morning and afternoon.
Yeah, I drove through it myself when I got here.
Yes, sir.
Because I wanted to see what was going on. Actually, sometimes I do travel through here because I go over to Fort Myers
Yes, sir.
sometimes. So I've seen this traffic queuing for mostly it seems to be the southbound to eastbound, like
Yes,
coming.
sir.
Yeah. So I think I can check with Palm Beach County. I believe they are the ones that operate the signal to see if we can further maximize that and the efficiency on the existing signal.
Mhm.
But it also may need additional improvements that
Okay.
can't be corrected with just that. And as part of what we're looking at, we're going to check that as well. So we'll do traffic analysis at the intersection. We're counting. There's actually, if you notice the tubes out there right now, we're counting the vehicles right now, trying to get an idea of where everyone's going.
Right.
And then we'll do some traffic analysis. No, I actually have a little bit of summary on the next slide. If I can, I'll go to
Okay,
that.
sure,
Just to
sure.
let you know. Okay. So it's really more of just a timeline, but this is kind of an all-in-one slide that shows what we're doing and the timeline of it. The concerns I think were brought up around September. Cesar Martinez was involved with that in some discussions. And from that standpoint, we started doing some initial data collection and initial field reviews and things like that. And then what we're getting at now is we're actually collecting the traffic data. We wanted to collect it before the holidays because once the holidays start, you have to wait till after that. We didn't want to do that, so we got them out there. Once we get that data, we can dig deeper into the existing conditions on traffic and start coming up with recommendations and then determining cost and whatnot of what those recommendations may entail and the impacts of them. We think by February would be about the time that we would have some recommendations. And again, we can come back and present those to you and what we think will work best out there based on what we're reviewing. I think for me, when I was analyzing this and at a glance, because this will be done under my section, was that I do want to, A, the concern with the weaving, we're going to look at that and that's part of this, but B, the entire intersection really needs to be looked at. And I think you kind of confirmed that with the traffic, and I'm seeing the same thing. There may be some additional issues other than just that movement. So that was February 25 is where we think we'll be ready to come back to give you guys an update on those things. And then we have one other location. I'm going to give it to Jesus Sosa to do this part. This was the US 27 at Southwest 2nd Street, the pedestrian crossing concern. Thank you.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
As Ron was going through the timeline, this came around the same time, September 24th, a concern about, as we can see in the area, which is just west of here, right? We have at the city center, we have activities, and we have residents on the west side of US 27 that come and kids and families, and they come across US 27 truck route to the activities at this center and the library. So we were tasked to study what alternatives we could have for pedestrians to cross safely US 27. So one of the alternatives we looked at is the pedestrian signal crossing alternative. So given that the location, pedestrian signals are located a little shifted from the intersection because they will be signalized, so it stops traffic, it stops trucks northbound, southbound, and then we tend to put them a little away from the intersection to avoid more conflict points with the cars turning right, turning left. So this would be approximate location for a pedestrian signal. It would have a push button, and when it gets activated, it will turn red, stop the traffic, and pedestrians can cross safely from west back to east. Next alternative. It's a bridge, it's a pedestrian bridge. So as you can see from the aerial, the pedestrian bridge will come with long ramps from a little south of Southwest 1st Street, and then cross a diagonal along Southwest 2nd Street, and then another ramp that will get you to this activity site.
Just a moment, Commissioner King, yes, because I know she wanted to ask questions about it because she was very instrumental when you was here in Belgrade and she was asking about that particular bridge. Commissioner King.
Thank you, Mayor. I like the, thank you for being here, presenting this. My concerns is the pedestrian signal, because it's a major highway and we have trucks in and out, and I have witnessed trucks that run through the red light. And my fear is with this traffic pedestrian signal, it would be the same thing, especially I would say if they are just coming from a stop at the light up the road, and they're just getting up their speed, they would be more prone to run that pedestrian light. So I wouldn't. I mean, it was a great idea, but with safety, I don't think it would be a good selection with being it's a major highway and a lot of trucks are, traveling up and down the highway, and I have witnessed trucks just, run through the light, even after it turned, red. So I mean that's my concern with the pedestrian light.
Yes, the pedestrian signals have features added so they are more visible, and you have advanced warning signs, and you would have the high emphasis crosswalks and other features that can enhance the visibility of the pedestrian lighting. But we understand the concern, and this is just a concept of what would be construct from here to construct final construction of the pedestrian bridge versus the pedestrian signal. But then once an alternative is chosen, then we will look at how to make it safer if it was one or the other. Okay. Any other questions?
That's it, thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner King.
So this is just another rendering of what the pedestrian bridge would look like. There is right-of-way to be taken for the pedestrian signal. So my next slide, I do a comparison of the cost of either alternative. So for the pedestrian bridge alternative, we're talking about $4,879,000. This will also require an annual maintenance cost. It could be somewhere approximately $650,000. And the maintenance of a pedestrian bridge is for the locals. So DOT doesn't maintain the pedestrian bridge, have to enter into a maintenance agreement with the local municipality. The pedestrian signal crossing, less cost. At the time we checked with our traffic operations office, it was around $200,000. It could be a little more. The cost of everything is going up as we speak, but it would be a less costly alternative than the pedestrian signal is to be maintained by the signal maintaining agency, in this case Palm Beach County, and it will cost $10,000. So the completion time frame, the pedestrian bridge, we do not have it in our work program. Palm Beach Transit Planning Agency has to prioritize it and put it in their list of priority projects. So right now we're wrapping up. We just finished the draft tentative work program. We're presenting to each one of the MPOs. So that would be the first time for Palm Beach TPA to submit to DOT would be the next cycle. We're currently in fiscal year 2025. So if we were to program, the soonest program is fiscal year 2026. But every new project we program is 5 years out. So something happened with the year that is there. There was a flip, some dyslexia there. It should have been 2032. So you would be looking at the earliest to program the design phase 2031, 2030. Wow. And then there's right-of-way. There will be right-of-way acquisition. So this looks like a simple right-of-way take. So that's minimum about a 2-year process after it's been programmed and right-of-way. Then the construction phase begins after that right-of-way acquisition. So it's estimated to be one, maybe with and some encounters, it could be a little more than a year. So we say 1-2 years. So the approximate complete time frame is we're looking at 8 to 9 years from now for the pedestrian bridge. Then the pedestrian signal crossing. We did some preliminary investigation. It looks like we could fit it in within the existing right-of-way, but we will have to do more in-depth verification. No additional right-of-way needed. There's utility coordination needed. We were looking at the plans from recent projects, and there's some utility that has to be coordinated. So the approximate time frame for the pedestrian signal would be 6 months to a year. To a year, 1 year.
Question in reference to the pedestrian single crossing alternative. Will you enhance that compared to what you have on Highway 27 now? The pedestrian crossing? Because I know that was they hit the push a button and then a light will come on and then they go across.
Right, it would be enhanced.
Yeah, but go back to, and thanks, Commissioner King. She brought something up about the way the trucks run that light. They run that light. They can still be behind there, and the light being changing into red, and they got their speed. Although the pedestrian have mashed that button, the light is really flashing for those individuals to cross. It's something to really look at, because we don't want no one to get hit on Highway 27 crossing that road when they have given them permission to cross, because the way some of those drivers out there on the highway, a lot of them not paying attention to the pedestrian. They are thinking about hauling and making their trips, feasible for them. So I think it's something else should be there. And some time back, I seen something in one state where reference there was a major highway, and they had the pedestrian crossing, and they had the lights that goes off in the road. I don't know that that can be done on a major highway, on Highway 27 or 80 there. And it shows that those individuals seen those flashing lights before they got to that particular light there, and they was able to slow up at that particular time instead of the running the red light. I don't know whether you'll be able to do that or not.
In-ground lights?
Yes,
Are they
in-ground
better than
light.
safety?
Yes.
We have them in Fort Lauderdale Beach area in
Yes, ma'am.
Wayne. There have been some issues there with the maintenance, but that's proximity to the shoreline. Sand gets into the in-ground lights, so it's hard to maintain those. But we still don't say no to them, so that's something we could explore, part of the enhancement for the city.
All right, thank you. I do appreciate it. Any additional question from this commission, Mr. Lopez? All right.
And well, this is our last slide. Thanksgiving is coming up, so we always have a safety message. Eat the pie, don't eat the steering wheel.
I'm going to thank you all for being here tonight as well for this presentation, because I know that you have been doing a lot of work in reference to listening to stakeholders in the Glaze area here. You have had numbers of meetings, along with the County Commissioner Sarah Baxter as well. You was at the last meeting there, and we gave some input, and I want to thank you all for the work that you are doing and you continue to do within the Glaze area, especially, Polk, Belgrade, and South Bay there. You're doing a great job in listening to what we have to say and our concerns as well. You haven't put it on deaf ear. And a lot of times, no offense against no one, but a lot of times some organization put it on deaf ear and not really listening and paying attention to what we are presenting before them or what we're telling them about the area that we live in. But you all haven't. You have came back to us, you have presented yourself, and you let us know precisely where you stand and the direction that you're going. And tonight, I just want to say I appreciate you on behalf of the city of South Bend and the entire commission and the staff. Thank you for all the work that you're doing at this present time.
Thank you.
And I understand there's some questions.
Any additional question from this commission? Commissioner Berry.
Regarding the alternative corridor, let me go back to that slide, the connector. The new road 2020, what's that, 2045, that's the projection from the department. I think it's the second slide. 2045, okay.
Yeah, the 2045 is, that's the long-range plan for Palm Beach Transportation, the planning agency, Palm Beach County Transportation Planning Agency, the TPA. That is their long-range document, so it was identified in that 2045 document that the need was there. They're actually working on their 2050 document right now. They've prioritized this, but so we've actually already programmed the PD&E study. So the PD&E study is funded to move forward. I don't have the exact year on the top of my head right now, but it's in the next few years. And the rest of it is not funded. The design, right-of-way, construction per se is not, but it is still in the Palm Beach TPA's plan. They still have it as a priority, and the department is still moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
An additional question from this commission.
Mr. Mayor, I don't have any questions, but I would like to, before you move, if you could go to the slide that shows the decrease in traffic, and I'm not sure. That one is fine. I would like to bring to the commission's attention at one of the Belgrade meeting and at some other meetings where the manager was present, I want you all to really pay attention to these numbers and the alternative routes. I know 1 and 2 during the conversations kind of stood out, in those meetings, but I'm saying this as your city manager and looking out for the best interest for the city of South Bay. No disrespect to any other community. Make sure you look at those routes and what's being proposed carefully. And this is the land use planner in me and the city manager. That decrease also remove traffic from your community. So just keep that in mind as you are making your decisions, because that is going to come back. And it's just what a decrease in traffic. We are a commuter community, and US Highway 27 is something that feed the community. So yes, this is not me speaking from this is all professional perspective, with the understanding that we want to maintain the facilities. And I know FDOT want to maintain the facilities here throughout the state of Florida. But when we talk about alternative routes that remove traffic from your community, you have to just be mindful of that as these items are presented over the years. So some of the meetings, I may have to come back to you. It may get to a point where do you stand from a policy space in making a decision? And those meetings may have to may occur prior to or after a commission meeting. So just keep those things in mind as you are studying the routes and attending the meetings going forward. So I just wanted to share that with you, and those that were in attendance at the meeting heard me that time speaking on those. So just keep that in mind. And I know FDOT heard everyone in the room clearly, which is why the additional studies are taking place. I just wanted to, and now that I have my body here as a whole, to share it with you all as a whole. So just keep that in mind. And I welcome putting together, as I shared with the commission, the policy statement with the support of the pedestrian crossing or the bridge. But the fiscal manager in me will look at not their cost of 4.8 million, but our cost of 650,000 to maintain that. And just we look at all of those things as we are moving this forward. But I also would encourage FDOT to, as during this study, I know when the additional railroad crossing was installed at the south end of the city, there was a reduction in the speed zone at that time. So if we need to bring it down we brought it from 55 to 45, but we need to bring it on down to 35 as we make this consideration. Just keep those things in mind as well. That's all I have, Mayor, Commission, regarding the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. And you did state that at that particular meeting, because you and I was present at that meeting. I want to thank you for bringing that up again. And why the city manager is talking about Highway 27 and location? I have another big concern. I think that we talked about it at the last meeting in the city of Belgrade in reference to the pilot Traverse Center. We talked about that, and then also that merger lane there coming out of State Road 80 to 27. And we noticed one thing about that is that you have a lot of those trucks that's traveling from south to north, and they have a tendency to barrel trying to make it over into the pilot Traverse Center. And it almost caused a couple of accidents in that particular area, because due to the fact that by it being a merge lane, those individuals have the right to merge onto Highway 27, but it have created a big problem. We're looking for a major accident. We haven't seen accidents happen there before, but the amount of traffic that's traveling back and forth with the Highway 27 north and south, I'm pretty sure going to be more accident because now that we're in an agriculture area and then the season is on now, we see more and more of those big rigs that is traveling on that major road. Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you. No, so as part of, we're looking at that particular intersection.
Yes, sir.
As part of that, we will be looking at that weaving condition, as you're referring to, at the pilot, to see if it makes sense to make changes there as part of the analysis. But we will definitely take a look at the entire State Road 80 US 27 intersection as well. So I don't have a time frame on when we could do improvements out there because I don't know what they would be and the cost yet. But we should know something by February in regards to potential alternatives and then have an idea of cost and then potential implementation plan or whatnot.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I do appreciate it. In addition, question from this commissioner, Commissioner King.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Just wanted to state that during our last conversation with Caesar, when we was doing the tour, when I brought up that safety issue, he was talking about looking into maybe removing that triangle and just rerouting the traffic directly to the light on 27.
Yes.
So that was something that he was looking into.
Yes, that'll be part of that will be part of the alternatives that we look at. One of the concerns we have right off the bat is how do we maintain the existing traffic? There's a Dollar General there,
Yeah.
as well as another business, I believe. We have to think about that.
Yeah.
We're not just we probably need to leave that ramp open per se for local travel, but it would somehow have to be changed geometrically so it doesn't connect anymore. But yes, we'll be looking at that. One thing that could happen when you do this, you may see more traffic on Northwest, is it 4th or 4th Avenue? Or the roadway just west of the Dollar General. And then First Street also, if these changes get made, from local traffic, not from your pass-through truck.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
But we'll definitely look at that as well, yes.
All right. Thank you. In addition, question, Commissioner Polk.
No, sir. Thank you. Thank y'all for getting us our turning lane back, coming back off of 715.
Thank you.
Commissioner Berry.
Thank you. This process has evolved. When I first participated in the discussion with your representative, I think she's your director, and we were talking regarding transportation issues. And as a follow-up, Caesar came to the city of South Bay, and as a follow-up, we were able to identify specifically concerns. And as we talked about those concerns, we indicated that we are in our legislative planning process, and this is crucial information. I will note that I am serving on the Intergovernmental Relations, Mobility, and Emergency Management Committee. And as we speak about issues affecting local communities, Florida League of Cities, it's interesting how we have some common interests regarding transportation, electric vehicles, annexation, etc. And all of those things require funding. And the funding, the budget, the voices, so we are talking about community voices here. So I am pleased, very pleased, that you were able to participate, and we have our residents here. We may even have some businesses here. I know we have some churches here. So your involvement is critical. And to document that you were able to participate in our special meeting, focusing on legislative priority, is excellent. So I commend you and your leadership team for doing that. In addition to that, make sure you note that you participated in the special meeting when you report back to Caesar. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Time
All
and
right.
energy.
Thank you, Commissioner Berry. We do appreciate that. Vice Mayor McKelvin.
Yes, no question. I just want to say thank you for this great presentation, and we look forward to your report in February. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Again, on behalf of the city of South Bay and all the commission, along with our entire staff and our residents, thank you for being here tonight. Really do appreciate you. And when you leave here tonight, you have a safe trip back home, and I wish you a happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
You will send us a write-up on this, correct? A follow-up document? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. We do appreciate all your input in reference to the FDOT presentation tonight. And we'll continue to move on now to our last item in reference to the 2025 state legislation priority. And we will start with Commissioner King to hear her input in reference to her priority this upcoming year. Commissioner King, Commissioner Polk, Commissioner Berry, Vice Mayor, and myself.
Can I come back? Can you skip to, Commissioner Polk?
Could we speak in the mics, please? In
I
order
said,
for
can
them
you,
to hear you?
I'm sorry,
Thanks.
can you,
Commissioner Polk.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And so, my thoughts are, and I guess we're just going to lay out what each, as a commissioner, our priorities would be. That's what you want to hear from us.
Yes, sir.
Because I know one of my thoughts were about workshopping this, were to be able to discuss some different strategies or ideas as to what we may be able to do differently. In my recent research of Governor DeSantis's priorities for the 24-25 fiscal year, and looking at our needs in our community, aligning our needs, which, as the manager mentioned earlier, each one of these commissioners has stated that infrastructure was one of our top priorities. I couldn't really find something that, per se, were one of our needs that align with the governor's top priorities. So I was a little creative in my thinking, and so I did notice that he's interested in water, big on water. So I know the city manager, I had a short conversation about some of the things that, we can probably do. I know we've been focused on the home, what are we calling it? The Esther E. Berry
Emergency shelter.
Emergency
care
Shelter Care Center,
Yeah.
which is the new and renovated Tanner Park, the new, all new Tanner Park facility. So, just trying to think of, I know that by us saying that that's an emergency shelter, that can help us. We keep that as one of the priorities, considering that hurricanes, the governor been reporting, he's been on the news every single week talking about these hurricanes. So we know that's something that's on his heart. So sticking with that and making sure that we place emphasis on the fact that it will be the first or only within our region, I think is something that would align with what the governor has in the forethought of his mind. And also just thinking about how we can add an educational component to that particular facility, because education is something that I noticed that he's big on. Those years that we didn't get anything, school board got their money. They were the only ones within our community that actually got their items funded. So, so me just suggesting that maybe we could add some type of educational component that may consist of, something that the governor's interested in. So I don't want to be too definitive, considering that I'm the first person to speak, but that's what direction I'm going in with it.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Polk. We do appreciate that. Commissioner Berry.
Yes. At our last, and this is input from the committee, Intergovernmental Relation Committee, Mobility Emergency Management. We're on task with that. However, annexation is a topic that triggered my interest in terms of enclaves and communities surrounding us, and how we can craft a document to represent, maybe we need to vision this. That's a strategy. Do we envision any enclaves or annexation pieces in the city of South Bay? Because that will strengthen our need for transportation, strengthen our needs for economic growth, and strengthen our needs for stability. Because our vision is we're at the crossroads and we need to build that infrastructure. So my emphasis would be on looking at how we can add additional pieces of land or plots of land to enhance our economic base. And I'm calling that annexation. And please forgive me, those know Those who know me know I teach almost 24/7. I just left a class before coming here. And even though it's online, I think we expend more energy in terms of reaching out to our students online. So my voice is just a little worn, but my heart is strong and my mind is stronger. So with us looking at annexation and what we can envision, additional spots of land or parcels, and building that that infrastructure. So this infrastructure goes beyond the streets and the sidewalks and the waterways and the whatever. But the land, that piece of loan ownership, I don't know if we're in a position to frame that for legislation, our priorities, but I know it is in conversation with the Florida League of Cities committee meetings, and it's a positive. Another, well, no, I'll leave that in one of the annexation. What visioning, what land can we acquire and build on that base? In addition to the emergency center, he's right. I think the governor is on task with that. And I'm just speaking for him. Yes, please.
May I?
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, the annexation of enclaves and or unincorporated areas, you don't need a state legislative process or permission in order to do so. If there are some properties within the boundaries of the city, within the city boundaries or the city land area, we could make that request to the property owner as to if they have an interest in becoming a part of the city. There are not any enclaves in the city of South Bay. What we could square off our boundaries, if at all possible, during the annexation process, if the landowner has interest. One question received in 2014, I think we possibly sent out 7 letters to property owners that are in the city limits proper, yet not in the incorporated boundaries of the city. They ask one question: what is the benefit of me coming into the city and paying a higher tax? And in 2014, if we all recall, times we don't mention, I was unable to answer that question in that time period. We are able to answer that question. Should you ever want to develop your land, now we can answer that question. Should you ever desire to develop your land, you would not have to go to Palm Beach County to get your building permit. You could do it right here in the city. And we're able to offer you expedited permitting. We're able to offer you inspection services in a timely manner. We're able to offer you certain things today for the additional taxes. So we don't need state legislation in order to do that with annexation. That is again, you just happen to have a land use planner that's a city manager, and that is my forte. So annexation, comp plans, it is something that I get excited about. That's the one person, the little nerd in me, that does get excited. So if that's interest, this commission, you just say it, and we could rehash the annexation process and just send out letters to those property owners and see if there's an interest. But there's no legislative process that you have to do with the state in order to ask or have that landowner come into the city limits proper, into the incorporated area of the city. From the Florida League's perspective, they are looking at a larger policy regarding annexation as a whole in the state law, and some things with those communities where enclaves do exist and or CRA areas and fingers. So they're having a much broader conversation regarding annexation, how it affects the Florida statute.
Correct,
But just
correct.
bringing in additional property, should that property owner have an interest, then that's what we're able to do. The second thing that property owners have asked was, you're going to charge me because there's a fee for annexation. So are we going to waive that fee? So you want me to pay more taxes and you want me to pay to come into the city? So all of those conversations, I think we could have offline, online, as we go through the annexation process, if that is a desire of the commission. But I am interested in hearing that second item, because on Thursday, I have and you let me know, is it Thursday, correct? At 11:45, I have a scheduled meeting with the senator to talk about the things that we are discussing tonight. So just know that if you can pour those items out on me, all the things that you have for the legislative priorities you want me to share. Not just share, but begin preparing, because as you know, next month, committees begin.
That's correct.
Okay.
And the annexation piece is a focus on the state modification, state approval, voter approval. So that's where I was going with that, because that's the larger piece of the state of Florida. And it goes beyond the current state law. Thank you.
Anything else you want to,
And of course, infrastructure.
okay, all right then. Okay,
We have the three.
yes.
Annexation, exploratory, the emergency center,
Sandra.
and infrastructure.
All right.
Which encompasses our roadways and waterways. Thank
Thank,
you.
thank you, Commissioner Barry. Do appreciate that. Vice Mayor McKelvin.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We pretty much have the same priorities. My number one is the emergency care center for our residents as well as our youth, to be able to thrive in and have something different around the Tri-Cities, as well as infrastructure. I think we should be able to build or reconstruct more than just one road per year. Even if it's not reconstructed, maybe we can put some asphalt down. I'm sorry. But I mean, I'm tired of driving over potholes. I'm tired of having to walk out in the street because I can't walk on the sidewalks. I'm almost to the point where I'm thinking we need to make this it might need to be number one priority, infrastructure. We need to be able to reconstruct our roads, reconstruct our sidewalks. To have investors come in and go down our streets is almost embarrassing. I don't think there's no other streets or roads in Palm Beach County that look like ours. Maybe, I don't know. But we need to take care of our infrastructure. That is very, very important.
Right.
But yeah, infrastructure and our emergency care center.
All right.
And
Thank you, Vice
may
Mayor.
I, Mr. Mayor, a note, when the Florida when DOT met in South Bay and we did the tour, one of the staff persons mentioned how we can bundle our need for particular funds for roads.
We need to
So if
come
we
up with
can
something.
follow up with, I think her name was, find a way we can bundle and develop that path for our legislative, to support our you were there.
Yes, ma'am. On that, those were some FDOT very programmed dollars
Okay,
in order for us to bundle.
put it,
And so it is not a legislative, it's the legislator set aside the funding
okay,
for FDOT. But again, we have to get our roadways into the TPA work plan
okay,
and make applications. So those are the things we have to look into. And I don't want to go deep into the not so much restrictions, but some of our challenges
okay.
that are there and in place. So some of our ongoing conversations, we have to have policies that will give us access to the funding that's set aside for some of the larger communities with a population over 15,000. So sometimes we have to have a policy conversation and say, could you change that policy from 15,000 population to 5,000 population? Now it opened the doors for us to make application. So it's more of policies. And we can ask for the appropriations, but we also know that there's only $9 million set aside for communities of rural economic concern, but there are 27 rural areas of economic concern applying for the $9 million.
Right.
But there's a pot of $100 million
That's correct.
over there, yet because our population is here, we don't fit the policy criterion in order to make application. So those are the things that as we have the conversations year round with the legislators and with the staff, we are looking at policy. It's just those 60 days we have more appropriations conversations because your window is 60 days. But the other 305 days, we try to affect policy conversations so that in the next year, we have a policy in place in order to assist with grants or funding
Supported, yes.
on the other side. So the dollars are there. So I apologize. That's the educator in me as well. I find my way empowering and educating throughout many conversations, but I want it to be clear, not only to the commission who's aware, but also to the public. It is those things we have to, from a policy perspective, look at. So as a strategy, going back to Commissioner Polk, we need to work on enhance our legislative appropriations request with policy conversations. So when we are there, we're not just only asking for $1 million to do this or $300,000 to do this. We're finding that technical language that precludes us from doing some of the things that we want to do year round versus asking for $1 million and then we walk away with $1 million and now you can't get that $1 million for another 3 years. We've only done one road.
Yeah.
And just the escalator in construction right now is 30%. So I fudged it. It's more like 25 to 27%, but it
I know.
yeah. So I apologize. I mean, I want to hear the priorities and not do this, but I do want to hear from each commissioner and that strategy. So when we're having the conversations going forward through the committees and
Yes.
the legislative 60 days, that calendar, the city of South Bay will be able to walk away with something that the governor and their staff would say, okay, city of South Bay, this is set aside for you this year. So I apologize for
No, you're
going off on a
good.
tangent.
You're good, Mr. Manager, and I do appreciate that because I want to comment when it come down to me. I want to say something about that as well. Commissioner Key.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My priorities are pretty much the same as Vice Mayor said. First, the infrastructure. And the homeless shelter for the homeless that we may be facing soon once this homeless law take effect in January. I was able to visit this tiny house village in Tampa when we was at the conference, and I got an insight. I saw, and it was a good program that they had with the tiny home village, and I think that's something that we may need to research and look into maybe bringing it, not just in South Bay, but just, in the Glaze area, because we will be affected from this homeless thing that's going to come down in January. I mean, we pretty much almost got a taste of it with one of our apartment complex recently, where some of our residents, was had to move out. That would be one of priority that I think we need to take to Tallahassee, as well as the hurricane emergency shelter, which I know our governor is big on hurricane season without residents being safe. I think it should be a first priority with the shelter, since the infrastructure of our streets would be kind of like I think we would be able to get the shelter secured first, being that our governor is big on public safety, especially doing with all these hurricanes and tornadoes just coming out of nowhere. So those are my three: infrastructure, the homeless shelter, and the emergency shelter.
Thank you, Commissioner King. We do appreciate it. And thank each and every one of your commissioner in reference to your priority. We just about on the same page in reference to what we need in the city of South Bay. I always say that I don't like to use the word what we need or what we want in the city of South Bay. It's not all the time they receive what we want. But, I did over each and every one of what you're saying tonight in reference to how infrastructure should be our number one priority in reference to the city of South Bay, the emergency shelter as well. And also, you had Commissioner Berry talking about the economy in the city of South Bay in reference to strengthen our business, and hopefully they'll be able to come to the city of South Bay. And I can go, I'm with Commissioner King in reference to the tiny homes. I had the opportunity while we was up there, they showed us in the exhibit hall, they had one of those tiny homes, there's X amount of footage. I took a picture of the inside of the tiny home, it's very unique. And during that particular time period, they stated that you can attach the bathroom with it. The tiny house that they had at the exhibit, it was just for only a single person, but they have those tiny homes as well as a mother with two children, and the bathroom attachment is with it as well. And also there's air conditioning also. And we're gonna have to face it in January. The county trying to do what they're trying to do in reference to the tiny houses. I think they just put some tiny houses in Boynton, Lake Worth or somewhere like that there. I don't really have the opportunity, any of you all had the opportunity to go and see those tiny houses. Just looking at those, there seem to be some great tiny houses they were building for the homeless. And I think that something that we have to focus on as well, because eventually that we're in the Glaze area. As they start migrating from the east to the west, and we have to look at all three of our cities in the Glaze area here, Belgrade, South Bend, Pahokee, because those individuals that's homeless now, we have a lot of those individuals who wasn't able to pay their rent, so they're out homeless now. We have kids today, mothers living in cars, and we have all this here. So we have to be prepared and make sure that we are prepared. Hypothetical if this happened in the Glaze area, especially in the city of South Bay. So those four that I just gave a reference to that, along with the annex, Mr. Manager, I know that you expressed in reference to the annexation of what Commissioner Berry said. I think we need to move in that direction, but we don't have to have it as one of our priorities. And go back to reference to what the manager was saying about our infrastructure. I had the opportunity to sit down and meet with an ex-commissioner, a county commissioner, and she expressed more or less about what Mr. Manager said, is about that extra money they putting on the side there. Why don't we go at some of that extra money at a strategy that you brought up, Commissioner Polk, in reference to going in another direction, and see as a possible we can get some of that money, the extra money they have set aside. They're trying to utilize it in reference to our infrastructure within the city of South Bay. Each and every one of us that sits here, each and every one that sits out there know how bad our infrastructure within the city of South Bay. And we want to enhance our infrastructure in the city of South Bay to attract more and more business. when investors come into the city of South Bay, Belgrade, or Pahokee, they don't only just look at the area here, Highway 27 or State Road 80. They go down in our cities to see precisely how the condition in our cities, and we know for a fact our infrastructure is terrible, terrible, terrible within the city of South Bay. And I did it with what each and every one of you have said tonight. Let's make a decision tonight. What would be our first, second, third, and fourth priorities, and we move forward from there. And I'd like to know from this commissioner at this present time, well, the infrastructure and sidewalk and stormwater draining, would that be our number one priority?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir, Commissioner Pope.
Excuse me. I would like to ask, I guess the lobbyist isn't here, but we can ask the city manager. What have you seen, you know, because you did a lot of meetings, also you, Mr. Mayor, follow-up meetings in Tallahassee, you know, because I think the emergency center infrastructure is where we all have pretty much spoken
Yes,
one or the other as the top priority that has really gotten pushed through easily, or that you believe is more in alignment. I think we could lean on his professional experience, considering he's the one that has been having those conversations to help yield back to us what you think, sir. Mr. Mayor, the man.
He's asking the manager to speak for our consultant. Is that correct?
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, can I add something to that before he,
Yes, our Commissioner King.
okay. I know, we can, just a suggestion about our road, infrastructure. The Glades area is pretty much the only area in Florida that has muck. I think, if we can come up with a plan to show that our roads are a much need because of the muck, and when we have to demuck in order to have some real stern road. And I think pushing that muck, being that we're on muck and we will have to demuck with, you know, what maybe help, you know, with us getting our roads fixed, you know, at a priority.
Thank you, Commissioner King. We have had a conversation with our County Commission, Sarah Baxter, in reference to trying to get additional money for demucking in the Glaze area here. And that's one of the things that she would be working with us again. She worked with us last year. We weren't successful, but hopefully she'll continue to work with us this upcoming year. They're trying to get additional money, get additional funding for demucking. That's not only dealing with our roads, infrastructure, it's also dealing, well, all that combined together, because when you're building a home, you have to do the same identical thing. So she is working with us, so we can continue that conversation. All of us, if you have the opportunity to talk to her again, and we will continue that conversation and make sure that is there, because you definitely need money. They'll give us a price, give us a cost, but when you start talking about demucking, that's additional money that have to be on top there, and it raises the price of everything. So that's a good comment that you made in reference to that. So let's continue to move in that direction. And Commissioner Polk, Commissioner Kelman, he asked you a question just a few minutes ago, sir.
I want to work in reverse because Commissioner Polk is absolutely correct in this space of infrastructure and roadway and vertical infrastructure being at the top of the governor's, all you all have said that, at the top of the governor's mind, and adding that educational component. And I can sit here today recognizing, not only recognizing because Ms. Ifield is in the room, in the chambers, I'm able to say that we are working on a EPA grant that would not only support some of the things that we're proposing to get done at Tanner Park, at the Emergency Shelter Care Center, our resiliency hub, focusing on water and air quality and all of those things from an educational and a local community empowerment perspective. Those things are being programmed for the new facility. And we're just going to go ahead and claim that in support with Ms. Eiffel's parent organization, housing partnership, DVA Community Partnership, South Florida. I read it too many times and I keep forgetting some things in the letter, so that's why I'm saying it that way. In the proposal. However, doing your focus on what the governor is looking at, I'm going to step away from what the governor is looking at, and I'm going to bring up Senate President Albritton, who is the chair of the Appropriations Committee, more so than what the governor is looking at. It is knowing what these Appropriation Committee chairs will push forward and push through to the governor. So those are the things and that we are looking at right now, not only the governor's appropriation. Now, in this same conversation, there is on the House appropriation side, the incoming president, or I'm not sure what they call him at the House, they're looking to exclude all appropriations and only budget for the state what they need to budget for the state, and eliminating appropriations requests going forward when the session open. So that is a battle, that is a challenge that's already on the table as we begin the appropriation request conversation. So I'm not going to say to the commission, move away from asking. No, we're going to ask, but the governor's flavor coupled with the Senate president and the House president, and we get all of that information so we're able to put together something successful going forward. So I am able to say from the incoming chairs, there are existing relationships that reside within the building that we're able to have conversations. We're able to have positive conversations that would possibly or could possibly benefit the city of South Bay. One thing, now I'm gonna talk about the muck, is because infrastructure that should continue to answer that question from Commissioner Polk. But to address the muck piece, I would like to add, it was a policy thing. Last set of funding, what DOT approved was the removal of 2 feet of muck. In our conversations with FDOT, with the secretary, what we were able to get is an additional foot that they would fund. So now we are able to do our designs. We're able to do our designs with 3 foot of muck being removed and supported by DOT. That is huge. And the secretary did not want to move forward with anything beyond 3 feet. And he probably would have went 3.5. But the stability of the roadway is challenged, will become compromised if we remove the 6 feet that we need, or 4 feet. The roadway will become compromised because there isn't anything designed to hold the wall back in time to backfill with clean fill. So, and how much of that roadway do you remove with the holding back the roadway? So the sidewalk or the front yard of our residential streets won't fall in. So those, from a design perspective, it's a challenge to remove the amount of muck needed to truly stabilize the base of the roadway. So, but we did get, in a policy conversation, we were able to get an additional 1 foot of muck removed in our design, and to remove it going forward. And DOT would support that 3 feet instead of 2 feet of muck being removed. So was a policy decision made by the secretary in conversation with the city manager, the lobbyists, with our team having that conversation with the secretary at DOT. So we look at infrastructure, we look at the emergency shelter care center and making those requests. But one thing I would like in that economic space, Mayor Commission, if you all would, because this is the other thing the governor is looking at, is you positioning yourself to sustain yourself from a business economic space, meaning you all allowing me to add in, and I shared this with the commission before, a $1 million request to build out or to prepare stormwater, roadway, any assistance to study the engineering study for and or build out of the Park of Commerce, so that we are able to remove and or reduce some of the barriers. I'll say it this way, that we're able to truly attract some businesses to the area, and we're not having to add that cost on them. We can reduce their due diligence by preparing the land or having a lot of that taken care of to attract that business owner, even local business owners, to construct projects on at the business park or at the South Bay Park of Commerce. So I am asking if we're able to include that, because economic development is that one thing the governor is all about as well. So I digress at that time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Cameron, I think we did put that in our prior to last year. Am I correct?
We did not.
We did not.
It was in a document.
Yes, sir.
But it was not submitted
To the House.
to the House or the Senate through appropriations.
Okay. All right.
The reason I know because I have a copy.
Yes.
And when we prepare it this year, I would like to be a part of that crafting process with the consultant. Thank you.
All right.
Just let me know when we're gonna do that.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Mr. Is that all right with the commissioners?
Yeah, that's fine. That's great.
If possible,
Yes,
city manager could give us a little more detail of what is it that we would be doing? Are those plans? Are those infrastructure, demucking? What is it you want to do to the park?
Engineering. Engineering and study. We want to do the study because we don't know what we need to engineer. So I can walk in and say, okay, let's remove and prepare the land. What does preparation look like from an engineering perspective? So we have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
It may take that $1 million to, when you're doing stormwater development, in order for you to construct stormwater, you have to remove something. However, you have the conversation on stormwater development, waterway, retention ponds. There are things in place. There are some things you must do in order to prepare the land for stormwater and or retention ponds. So that may consist of bringing in a bulldozer. Now, how do you get to the building of it? But the request and what the governor is supportive of or his staff supportive of is economic development. But that is preparing our 88 acres for true economic development. Because leaving the field as is, the last time we cleaned the site, it was about, I think we did almost $40,000. That was us renting the tractor, paying for the work, paying the people that are out there. That becomes expensive when you are riding over 88 acres and you have to do it again in 6 months because, so those are the things that we would do in order to prepare the land for site development.
Thank you for that information.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Now, when are you meeting with Mr. Connors? Or is he still our consultant?
Mr. Connors is still still on board with the city. I can meet with Mr. Connors tomorrow. I can meet with Mr. Connors, have a conversation with him tonight.
Okay.
But I did not schedule anything with him until I had this conversation with
Commissioner.
the commission.
Yes.
And before I said schedule a meeting with Mr. Connors. Has he been to Tallahassee having conversations on our behalf? Yes, he has. And the conversations consist of City of South Bay is there. They are going to prepare infrastructure. They are preparing with FDOT needs, and we are preparing. So he was having global conversations so that when the committees meet beginning December, and when the manager have to travel there in order to defend any of these and present this information, I definitely would. We're already, they are aware of us coming.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Do appreciate it. Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Manager, will you go with the priority again from this?
Sure. It is the infrastructure, strengthening businesses to come in, infrastructure, the emergency shelter care center, and strengthening the community or the Park of Commerce, which was the manager's request for economic development. Annexation of enclaves is not something that we need to have as our legislative priority. Because those are not so much a legislative priority. We don't need to ask the legislators if we need permission to annex. That is something we could do from the city and the property and the landowner. But those are the three items that I have before me. I know those are the three items, the two items that stepped out that the commission spoke highly about, and I asked for the economic development piece at the Park of Commerce.
Mr. Campbell,
Mayor?
go ahead.
I'm
Commissioner
sorry.
Pope.
Yeah, I would like to, in the lane, switching lanes to the direction of strategy.
Okay.
Do we feel that there's a need for us to add lobbyists? I mean, I know everything is about relationships as it pertains to getting these appropriations pushed through, or getting our requests pushed through, and actually getting it signed off by the governor. So, no slight on anyone. I know Mr. Jordan's doing a great job for us. I mean, I've seen his efforts. I definitely saw his efforts. I just want to throw it out there if there's any conversation as it pertains to,
Strategy.
and I've only mentioned adding lobbyists.
Well, one of the thing about it is that I think the lobbyists, some of the lobbyists are great lobbyists for the different cities, but my only handicap is our governor. That's one of our biggest handicap. Our lobbyists, our senators, our representatives, they really work hard and push real hard for our appropriation, and they feel the same way we feel. That sometimes we thought that we'd make it across the goal line, but for some reason, when they get him before the governor, he just start vetoing everything, and he have did that in the entire Glaze area for the last 2 years. Commissioner Polk, I don't know whether adding another lobbyist with the one that we have would be more successful, but changing the strategy, as you already said, I think that if we go in another direction, let's see how that's going to work. So hopefully that by changing our strategy this year and see as a possibility, our lobbyists, and is the senator and the representative he reached out to in reference to our priorities, that they will understand where we're coming from and the direction we're going within the city of South Bay.
With
Any
that,
Commissioner, any additional question at this present time per our priority? Commissioner Berry?
thank you so much. When you strategize, it's like goal setting. You're looking at objectives and benchmarks and budget. You're looking at personnel. So the strategy isn't the individual, it's how we approach the end line. How do we run that ball through? How do we make that touch line? Touchline or
Touchdown.
you got it. How do we make it to the end? So the strategy represents how we're gonna get there. And when you strategize, you do exactly what we're doing here. You talk about options. You explore clarity, policy versus possibility. So this is good. This is very good conversation. And it's been a while since we have at this strategy conversation because we invited the Florida Department of Transportation, the agency with the information, to share it with the group. And that's accountability. And it's your voice. You can go out and say, you know what? Florida Department of Transportation presented these options, the future of the Glades. And it's a powerful thing to be able to do that. So in a way, this session has been very educational. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Barry. City Manager Campbell.
Mr. Mayor, there were two words spoken from a strategy and clarity perspective, and I want to go back, being clear from the Commissioner Polk request conversation regarding strategy. When you are speaking of strategy, could you share in this moment how you are positioning the strategy? Because just experience, you have the conversations, you know, you've seen the things that we do and how we operate during the year. What is the strategy you would like for the staff and commission to employ to explore for the upcoming? Because I think that's what you're more aligned with, the upcoming session. Do you mind?
Well, I mean, I stated it earlier. You know, it was just a suggestion as to if, you know, possibility of adding obviously would help, and it was a question more of just to see what the rest of the commission thought of it. But since you asked, I'll add to it. You know, I used the word relationship, so you know it may be something that we can talk about offline. You know, because I know that relationships mean a lot. So there may be some relationships that we may be able to garner. Yes, that would assist us. Even as the mayor stated, our issue has been, you know, with our governor, and you know, respectfully, maybe we can work, you know, again in that area. I believe that there are, my grandmother used to say, more than one way to skin a cat. So we may need to consider, you know, you understand?
I'm understanding. I'm
We
understanding.
don't need to
Yeah, I do. And I know some of these questions I have to temper and walk slightly because I do understand that you all are policymakers and I'm an administrator. So I would communicate priorities and a strategy totally different from what you all would do from your policy space versus an administrative space. So, and I don't want to put you in a position with any of your state elected officials I want to make sure that you all maintain a supportive and a positive relationship with your state elected officials. At the same time, I would ask that if there is a positive relationship that exists with the house on Adams Street, let's engage so that we're able. That is where the strategy, just me from my space, should go. Is if there's a positive relationship, we need to go to Adams Street on the end where the gate goes up and down, and not to the other building where you have to go up 28 floors or 18 floors, or to a chambers to have the conversation. So let's do that. I'm a phone call away, and I'm ready to get on the plane. I'm ready to take the 6-hour drive to go to the house, the red brick house or the white building. But if it exists, put it on the table, and let's execute that plan or that strategy in Tallahassee. Okay, I'm gonna hush.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I like to direct something. Maybe I could get some advice from the legal tonight. what is it possible to send out a memo or something like that to commission? Maybe we could list some of those strategies or something like that.
Repeat that again, Commissioner Pope.
Like maybe we could list some of our strategies, but can we do it by way of a memo?
I'm not sure if I understand your question, Commissioner. A memo directed to whom?
Like the commission, city manager with the commission.
The city manager sending out a memo directed,
What-
addressed to the commission with, including strategies?
Yeah, I guess my suggestion would be, if we could have a kind of like further the conversation, but not further the conversation, more so of like a memo. I'd like to try to sit down and put together those strategies and send them out via a memo to the commission.
From the city manager? I'm just trying to understand your
What's the
question.
purpose? That's what she's asking.
Well,
What's the purpose?
I think that we can sort of kind of, because right now I think that we have some ideas on the table. We have some ideas up here still, and as we continue to strategize on this, we won't really have a whole lot of meetings coming up. So to be able to, because for one thing, what I would like to suggest is we have different assets, and I think the manager was indicating on that a short while ago. Like we have Dr. Berry, who is a certain asset in a certain area and in a certain space, and so there may be the possibility of us being more strategic, as in who and how we do what we do for as relationships to get us the attention that we need.
When
May I
you
say
said
something, Mr.
when you said the
Mayor? This is my
relationship,
relationship right here. He is the present. Well, who is he? I'm reaching out to this individual right here.
Okay.
And this person is responsible. This person loves to hear from the community. And when I reach out, I will clearly say the Department of Transportation had the opportunity to engage in a special meeting with the commissioners, with the public present. And why? Because, and you can go to these places, but unless you get down to what does the person look like? What's the telephone number? What's the link? How do I get to right here? And I'm glad we're live. This is where I'm gonna start right here. And not only that, that doesn't work. I'm gonna turn the page. The numbers, the pictures are here. We love images. And we received that. We did receive follow-up information on how to contact these people. So as a policymaker, as a decision, number one, number two, number three, number four, I'm gonna get something.
okay, Commissioner
Because I'm
Berry,
gonna position myself.
Commissioner
Okay,
Berry,
I have to say that
yes,
because
but that
that's
is,
just the speech.
I just wanted trying to
I
get.
respect
He
all
asked a
that.
question to the attorney,
Okay, oh,
and
sure did.
she's still waiting to try to get a clear understanding.
I'm sorry, I want to make sure that I answer your question, but I need to understand what you're asking. If I understand you're asking if the city manager can maybe compile all the suggestions that you were discussing tonight and send a memo?
Sure,
Is that
sure.
what you were asking?
Sure.
Well, I think that would be fine, just to, like you mentioned, just to jot down all of the strategies, all of the suggestions that you've come up with, all of the priorities, summarize that and send it to the commission in a memo, and then you follow up and have another workshop to discuss it, or
Well,
you
I don't
just
think-
want to memorialize everything that's taking place tonight?
Yes, sure.
And
That explains it.
And I'm happy to run that past the city attorney. I just want to make sure that I'm understanding
Right.
what you're asking, and
Right.
she can get back to you
in
directly.
in concept, Madam Attorney, it is something that we do. We memorialize our legislative priorities. It is the strategy component I'm understanding, Commissioner, to ask is, and I don't want to put words in the commissioner's mouth, so please correct me. The question that he's asking is, could the commissioner draft something and share with his commission? Is that
Yes.
the question being
Oh.
posed? That's what he's asking.
the commissioner and not the city.
So
Manager.
you gave us the answer from the perspective of the city manager. So yes, what is your take on that? As per a commissioner sending out a memo.
As long as you don't communicate with one another and it's public, it's subject to the Public Open Records Act, I think that's fine. But again, I will run that past the city attorney and let her provide an official opinion to you whenever she returns. I think
Okay.
that would be the better answer. But I
Alright.
don't see an issue as long as it's made public and it's not direct communication between two of you.
Right. That definitely answers the question.
Yes, okay.
So thank you.
Yes, you okay? You okay, all right, thank you. In addition, question in reference to our priority from this commission at this present time.
Clerk, will you repeat the priorities, please? Mr. Bosque.
The clerk ought to say the better.
You wrote it down.
It's all good.
You ready?
Yes, please.
You want me to start with Kyle's? Oh, the three: infrastructure, strengthening our businesses, and care center. Those were the main three topics that were discussed.
Yeah, thank you for the record.
We good? We
For the
okay?
record.
In addition to question,
No,
anything that
Mr. Mayor,
the
I just
commissioner
wanted to
wants to
make
say?
I just
Commissioner
wanna make
Poe?
this comment.
Yes,
You know,
sir.
Yourself.
We're on live stream, so that's why when it
Yes,
comes to the
that's
strategies, and everyone's listening. That's why I'm just kind of like, because we're talking about trying to do something that we, trying to strategize out, how we're gonna. So that's what my question was in particular. So
All right.
Thank you.
As there's no additional question from this commission, I just want to say thank the commission for being here, the staff for being here, each and every one of you for being here tonight in reference to our special meeting, in reference to our budget amendment and our priority tonight. Madam Attorney, thank you for being here tonight. We really do appreciate your presence, and you have a safe and a wonderful trip back home.
Thank you, Mr.
And
Thank you.
at this present time, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Vice Mayor, meeting's adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now,
I feel like I feel some air now.
you take.